All right, Kevin's in here talking hoops. He's from Hogville.net, Kevin McPherson. Joe Pridgeon, this guy, you're looking at a guy who, in general, from Holy Cross, is somebody who played for a former Arkansas assistant, that being Brett Nelson. So what about Pridgeon and kind of what he could bring?
Well, he's a big guard, Drew. He's 6'4", 6'5", 210, a physical player from that backcourt spot, and a guy that was the Patriot League Rookie of the Year. Now, this wasn't a very good team at Holy Cross. They only won 3 games on the season, but here's a guy that was their leader. I mean, 17.5 points a game, 7 rebounds, just over 2 assists, but he shot nearly 56% from the field. He was an efficient three-point shooter. He just didn't take a lot. He probably took one shot from 3 per game, but he was over 40%. But when I really look at a guy like this, and you look at Arkansas's backcourt, where might there be a need? Well, Isaiah Joe just declared for the NBA draft. We don't know if he's going to be back in an Arkansas uniform or if he continues to pursue that dream. If he's gone, that opens up another spot in that backcourt, and it gives Arkansas an available scholarship, which right now, if you count Joe in, they're maxed at 13. So I think Arkansas and Eric Musselman have to continue to recruit for not only best available players, but for need. And this could be a position of need, and I like this player.
Yeah, me too. And in general, when you look at this recruiting, so many big-time names on the recruiting radar right now for Arkansas. Let's talk 2021 guys who have had some virtual meetings, so to speak, with Clay Mosier and Eric Musselman. A lot of guys to get to. I'll just let you run down these guys. But Damian Collins, Kendall Brown, Langston Love, Peyton Watson, Hunter Salas, some of the guys we'll talk about. Salas is a 5-star, really high on the Hogs. I know you wrote about that. These guys, when you look at this mix, a lot of top 25 guys, right?
There's no doubt about it. All of them are ranked in the national top 25. That's 5-star. Effectively, they're all 5-stars. Some of the guys technically aren't there yet, but by the time they're seniors, if you're in the top 25, you're in conversation for McDonald's All-American game, and you're a 5-star. Now, I will say this about that 2021 class. It is an unusual situation right now because we're in April. This would be hot and heavy time where these guys are out on one of these shoe circuits getting exposure, getting coaches to be able to evaluate them again and recruit them from that perspective. That's not happening. And you look at how proactive Eric Musselman and his staff are and have been. They just wrap up a number 7 national signing class in terms of getting signatures. They bring in a couple of grad transfers. We know they've been wearing the portal out. We just talked about another player. But here they are turning their attention this week to that 2021 class. And so they're not missing opportunities. They can't be out on the road to see these guys, but they are getting them in for virtual tours. That's what happened with these guys starting Wednesday through Saturday. And you mentioned those 5 names. Hunter Salas, 6'4" guard. I really like Hunter Salas. Took part in Team USA training camp for 17U this past fall, but a guy that Arkansas extended an offer to back in the fall, and they've been recruiting him for a while. Of course, he's got a list of, Kansas, UCLA, a lot of big-time schools that are after him, but he's always spoken highly of Arkansas. He really likes Musselman. He likes the interaction there. He said that his virtual tour went really well and had a lot of positive things to say. So here's a guy that, again, when you start looking at we start talking about every one of these 5 names are top 25 in the country, that's what you've got to do. You've got to cast a wide net, and if you want to make Arkansas a national program, it starts with guys like Hunter Salas, Kendall Brown, a 6'7" small forward wing, a very versatile player that can play, front line, backcourt. Sunrise Christian Academy, one of the top basketball independent schools in the country, another 5-star guy, top 15, top 16 in the country, and another guy that Arkansas has been on for a while. They offered him last year. He's always said good things about Arkansas and his relationship as he's building that. And, of course, he did a virtual tour this week and had more positive things to say about that interaction. You mentioned Damian Collins. Listed at 6'8", he's probably pushing 6'9", but his length is elite. His athleticism is elite. He probably plays like a 6'10" or taller guy in reality, and he's another top 25 guy, a guy who shot up the charts last spring and summer after what he did on the Nike EYBL circuit, playing with the eventual 16 and under champions of the Peach Jam, which was Team Griffin out of Oklahoma. Arkansas has been recruiting several of those players, but Collins took an unofficial visit to Arkansas, Drew, back in October for the red-white game at Barnhill. We got to interview him at that time, and just a very modest and humble young man. Really likes his relationship building so far. Familiar with Chris Crutchfield, the associate head coach, building a relationship with Eric Musselman, who, again, along with assistant coach Clay Moser, are doing these virtual tours right now. But we move on from Collins, and we look at a guy when you start going to Langston Love out of the Houston area, he played at Montverde Academy last year with Moses Moody. They're friends. He told me just a couple of days ago that Moses still talks to him about the school, but he loves his visits with Eric Musselman. He's told me on multiple occasions he likes that interaction with the head coach. He did his virtual tour, another top 25 five-star guy, a big part of Montverde, going undefeated this year, being ranked number 1 in the country. So another guy, when you start looking at that 2021 class, again, Arkansas has seen these guys before. It would help if they could be on the road and see them again. But being able to just continue to interact and offer something of value, since they can't get them on campus physically, these tours I think are important, because the next guy we're going to talk about, Peyton Watson, another smooth 6'7", 6'8", combination forward, a guy that can play. You can, use him in the backcourt, probably defensively, can play that small forward spot. Arkansas just offered him a week ago. But he's out of Long Beach, California, Long Beach Poly out there, another top 25 guy, another five-star player with a who's list of teams recruiting him. But now he's a guy that Arkansas has seen, but the offer just came out. So I think getting him in for the virtual tour, doing that online, and getting him into those relationship-building modes is very important for Arkansas. They're a little newer with him than some of these other names that we mentioned. But again, wrapping this all up, to make Arkansas a national brand, you build off the 2020 class you signed that's ranked 7th nationally. You've got a couple of grad transfers that were ranked anywhere from top 10, top 20 out of a pool of about 150 or more grad transfers that came out. And now you have something to sell. You're showing that we've signed these guys. We're moving forward with a program that's going to move up in national relevance. There's a reason why you want to come to Arkansas. And so I think Musselman's pushing the right buttons right now and turning the right keys.
Before we get to Chance Westry, I do want to piggyback off that, because you mentioned the top 6 class, top 7 class, depending on rankings, what you look at. The fact that Arkansas is mentioned among blue bloods in college basketball, how big is that? Obviously, clearly that's a huge part of what Musselman's doing.
Right. Well, eventually, the results have to show on the floor, and we got a mixed bag this past season, mainly because of the injury to Isaiah Joe. You had the SEC Player of the Year in Mason Jones, another mantelpiece for Eric Musselman to talk about some of the good things that are happening in Arkansas. But you really want to see the program move the needle in terms of wins and losses. But right now, you can't showcase that because you're still new as a program, and obviously the season ended abruptly. We don't even know how that would have ended for Arkansas. But I think it's big anytime you cast that wide net and you're doing enough things through social media and other ways to get attention to be in that conversation, to be talked about as one of those programs that's getting out of the box and how you're marketing yourself. Every time that you reach out and you put in the work to get on these young players' radars and to get into their top 10, or if they cut the list down to 5 and you're mentioned, I think it's huge, especially when your name is beside a Kentucky or a Louisville or North Carolina or a Duke or Kansas. I mean, obviously there's some other good schools out there, but Arkansas, that's how you market your program. Eventually what you do on the court is going to matter, but right now I think when you look at the rest of it, Musselman again and his staff are doing it the right way. Absolutely.
And when you look at Westry, who I mentioned previously in this report, he's out of the class of 2022. He has an offer from Arkansas. 6'4" guard. Is he roughly about 6'4"? What would you say about his game?
Yeah, now here's a guy that's also another versatile player. He's a point guard, a big point guard. We saw Arkansas sign Devontae Davis out of Jacksonville in this 2020 class. And I think Musselman, he talks about positionless basketball, but what does that really mean? It means guys that have maybe versatility in their skill set, athleticism, and can be matchup problems at either end of the floor. And this is another guy that really fits that bill. And we've talked about how deep the 2020 class was in Arkansas. Well, the 2022 class is maybe as deep, may end up proving to be deeper and is good talent-wise at the top. Arkansas's already got 5 offers out to in-state recruits from the 2022 class, but they've also extended offers out nationally to guys. And Chance Westry's out of Pennsylvania, goes to Trinity High School. Just again a very talented, big point guard type of player, very versatile player. And again, Musselman spoke with him over the weekend, and that led to him getting an offer from Musselman. And I think, when you look at his offer list, Arkansas is in good company there. But I think, again, establishing these relationships early, is very important to eventually starting to land some of these guys out of state, and that's the key. Arkansas is always going to have to get the guys in state that matter, but again, to make it a national program, you're going to have to reach out. And I think Musselman's the guy that's going to be able to potentially do that because of all of his experience and travels in the pro game. I think that's going to benefit him because he's got a lot of connections and contacts.
Okay, all right. Continuing to follow Hog Hoops as always, Kevin McPherson from hogville.net. Check out more of his work. Thanks, Kevin.
Good to be with you guys.
Okay, man.